Good morning, Vietnam! Today we are gathered here to talk about Vietnam, not the Berlin Wall. Today we're going to talk about the history of Vietnam and how the war got to where it was. So we have to take you back to 1885 in Indochina. Vietnam down here in Indochina. France came all the way from up there to down here to invade Vietnam. And they were ruling them, and the Vietnamese people just weren't having it. Flash forward to 1941. As we know, the world was in crisis. World War II, led by this man, Hitler, where they invaded France, and the Vietnamese people were like, hey, if they're going to invade it, we want independence. So that's what they did. They tried to get independence. And then in 1945, Japan took control, and then they weren't having that either. And then America invaded Japan, and they had temporary independence. In 1954, the Geneva Conference was held, which caused Vietnam to be split into the North and the South. Essentially, people were given 300 days to choose which side to live on. 300,000 people moved from the North to the South, mainly Roman Catholic, because the people of the South showed stronger loyalty to France. The North was led by Ho Chi Minh, this man right here, and he developed the Communist Party. In 1955, Diem became the first president of South Korea as this man. The United States often supported him because he wore Western suits, as you can tell in this lovely picture, his Western suit. He hated communism, he hated elections, and he was often associated as being an autocratic ruler. He was very corrupt and not very well liked. He caused the creation of the Viet Cong, which eventually they tried to rise up against him. And basically who the Viet Cong were, they were their own army, they supported communism, and they fought against South Vietnam in the United States.
And now, live to Vietnam.
I am North Vietnam.
I'm South Vietnam.
Communism!
Capitalism!
Communism!
Capitalism!
Communism!
Ah!
Communism.
The Vietnam War began on November 1st, 1955 and ended April 30th, 1975. It lasted a total of 19 years, 4 weeks, and 1 day. It took place in North and South Vietnam as well as Cambodia and Laos. The North Vietnam Army was allied and supported by the USSR and China. The Southern Army was supported by the USA, South Korea, Australia, and Thailand. The main cause of this war was the Cold War. Vietnam saw the tensions taking place with the USSR and the USA. They split in two, with the North being communist and the South being democratic. Unfortunately, the Americans pulled out of the war, and without their significant involvement, the communists became victorious.
North and South Vietnam were united as one country under communist rule. Congress reduced the voting age to 18 and converted military to a volunteer force. Citizens ended up losing trust in the government and started questioning government policies. The country was left in ruins from the war, and the war cost Vietnam quite a lot of money. Good night, Vietnam.
And now, let's play a game called Three Truths and a Lie. The Viet Cong supported communism.
The Americans and the communism side both stayed faithful and nationalistic all throughout the war.
Vietnam was once split into North and South Vietnam.
Institutionalism failed in Vietnam because communism and capitalism clashed.
If you guessed that Vietnam was once split into two for a lie, then you are wrong.
If you guessed that tens of thousands received dishonorable discharge for desertion, then you were right.
Should I do the Good Morning Vietnam thing?
Yeah.
Alright. On your go, count me down, count me later.
It's already going.
Start over. Tell me when you're going. You're already going again, aren't you? Okay, good. Okay. Geneva Convention, the Geneva Conference.
Vietnam was once split into North and South Korea.
In the South, we eventually had I can't pronounce his name to save my life. after they got their independence back from France, this man